Sean Payton just dropped a bombshell in end-of-season press conferences. When he and George Payton spoke, Payton specifically said they're moving away from the lead back concept. Now, what exactly is this, and how will it impact the Broncos' upcoming season? Let's break it down. What's up, buddies? Welcome back. If you are new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We cover all AFC West news here on this channel. Yesterday, Sean Payton and George Payton spoke to the media, and there was one quote from Sean Payton that hit me hard. He said they're not going with a lead back moving forward. Basically, they don't see a bell cow back as the direction they want to take. Bell cow back? Not the way to go? Now, it seems they are not interested in drafting Ashton Jeanty, who's the top draft prospect for them. Now, if you look at the previous season, you will understand that the Broncos need a running back, and Jeanty should be the guy. He's already got the perfect name to join the Broncos. It's like he's meant to be here. He's just down the road in Boise, so the move wouldn't even be a big deal. But now, after hearing Sean Payton say they don't want a bell cow back, it's hard to imagine them using the 20th overall pick on a running back to fill that role. Let's be honest, critiquing Sean Payton's roster decisions as a YouTuber feels like a losing battle. He's a Super Bowl winning coach, and I'm just here sharing my thoughts. The conversation probably should end there, but every now and then, YouTubers do get it right. Payton deserves way more credit than that. Still, I can't help but think this is the perfect time for the Broncos to use a premium draft pick to get a true superstar running back. Now, in my opinion, running back is one of the weakest areas in recent memory. Javonte Williams, for example, led the way this year, but get this, he played every game and had only 139 carries for 513 yards. That's not exactly inspiring confidence, and it suggests there's a lack of trust in the run game. Here's a stat that's been making the rounds, and if you haven't heard it, let me spell it out. The last time the Broncos had a player, any player, rush for 100 yards or more in a single game was Latavius Murray in Week 18 of the 2022 season. That's right, 2 full regular seasons without a single 100-yard rushing performance. It's a streak that's hard to ignore when you're talking about the team's running game. This stretch is the longest since 1992. That's significant, considering the Broncos have been playing football since 1960. In all that time, they've only gone 8 seasons without having a 100-yard rusher in a game. 6 of those 8 happened back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, or early 90s, when seasons were shorter. The other 2? They've happened in the last 2 years. That, to me, makes fixing the run game the top priority for the Broncos. And one way to do that, in my opinion, is by drafting a superstar running back like Ashton Jeanty. But it doesn't seem like the Broncos are heading in that direction. They don't appear willing to use a first-round pick on a running back unless they have a clear plan to maximize his carries. If you're going to spend the 20th overall pick on a running back, the expectation should be 250 to 300 carries in a season. That's the baseline. If you're not going to give a back that workload, then yes, spending a first-round pick on one wouldn't make sense. So when Sean Payton says they're not going with a lead back moving forward, I can't help but ask, did they ever have one to begin with? Let's break it down game by game, looking at the max carries or leading rusher for each week. Here's what we've got: 10 carries, 11, 9, 16 in Week 4. Okay. Let's see if Week 4 holds up. Week 5, 13 carries. Then 6, 14, 17 in Week 8. Still not even close to hitting 20 carries in a game for a single player. Week 9, 12 carries, then 14, 9, 7, 14, 8, and 9 again. This approach doesn't scream we're dominating on the ground, or even that there's trust in any single back. The idea that the Broncos ran some sort of bell cow system this year? No, they didn't. The closest they got was 16 carries for a single player in a game, and that's nowhere near the 20 carry mark you'd expect if they were leaning on one guy. I don't think this system worked at all. If anything, they should consider going to a bell cow system because what they've been doing hasn't worked for 2 straight seasons. But Sean Payton's history in New Orleans shows that this is his philosophy when it comes to the running back position. He's never been about having a workhorse like Ezekiel Elliott or Adrian Peterson, someone who's getting the ball on first, second, and third downs consistently. Let's look back at his last 5 seasons with the Saints and see where his lead rusher ranked in carries compared to other backs in the league. In 2021, Alvin Kamara was in his prime, yet he didn't even hit 250 carries. He wasn't even in the top 5. In 2020, Kamara tied for 15th. Before that, he ranked 25th in 2019 and 16th in 2018. And in 2017, Mark Ingram, during his prime, came in at 13th. This has always been Payton's approach. He doesn't want to overwork a running back. Instead, he throws a variety of looks at defenses and builds versatility into his backfield. Remember the term joker from his time in New Orleans? Payton wants every back to play a unique role. He's all about using different skill sets to his advantage depending on the situation. There are definite benefits to this system, and I'm not here to completely knock it. But when I hear the Broncos say they don't want to go with a lead back, I have to question that thinking. They didn't have one this season, and it showed. It felt like they changed their lead back every single week. Maybe having a lead back would actually help stabilize things. Having a lead back would be great, but if the Broncos decide not to go with Ashton Jeanty, and let me make this clear, I strongly disagree with passing on Jeanty. I'll say it right now. Clip this if you want. And in 2, 3, or 4 years, we can look back to see if this take aged well or not. I believe the Broncos should take Jeanty. If they don't, I won't lose my mind if the consolation pick is Tyler Warren. Warren is an exceptional tight end. 1,000 receiving yards might not sound groundbreaking, but for a college tight end in 2024, that's rare. It's even more impressive when you consider how modern college offenses work. They're all about spreading the field, taking advantage of the wider hash marks compared to the NFL, and focusing on quick reads for the quarterback. Tight ends are rarely the first option, which limits their opportunities. Yet Warren managed 88 catches. He's a versatile player. He can throw, run, and catch. I'm a big fan of his game. If Warren ends up being Denver's pick at 20, I'm not going to melt down over it. He's a talented player, and the Broncos do need help at tight end. That said, I still think running back is a slightly more critical position right now. When you're picking 20th overall, you also have to consider positional value. There's a reason quarterbacks, corners, edge rushers, wide receivers, and offensive tackles tend to be prioritized in the first round. Positions like quarterbacks, edge rushers, corners, and wide receivers go in the top 10 more often because they have a bigger impact on the game than positions like safety or linebacker. And I'd argue running back impacts the game more than tight end. But that being said, Warren is undeniably a talented player, and if the Broncos go with him, it's still a solid pick. Let me give you some extra context about him. This guy is massive, 6 feet 6 inches, 260 pounds. He's bigger than some of the defensive ends he'd be blocking against. He's got a unique background too. He played quarterback in high school, which means he has a great understanding of the offense. That experience shows in how he runs his routes, like a quarterback would want them run. In today's NFL, it's not just about running backyard-style football where the QB draws up routes in the dirt. It's about reading the defense, especially against zone coverage. Tight ends and receivers often run option routes, where they adjust based on the defense's look. For example, if the defense shows one coverage, the receiver might break in, and if they show something else, the receiver breaks out. This requires chemistry between the quarterback and the receiver, sometimes even pre-snap. Take Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, for instance. They were great at this. Rodgers might tap his helmet, signaling to Adams that he's not getting much safety help. Adams would immediately know to adjust and go deep. That kind of unspoken connection and football IQ is what makes players like Warren valuable. Maybe they're able to pick up on those tendencies, but chemistry like that doesn't just happen overnight. It takes time to develop. Warren's a tight end who moves like a quarterback. He's got a great feel for finding the soft spots in the defense, and that makes him a quarterback's best friend. There's a lot to like about him, but if I'm nitpicking, he's not the best run blocker. But honestly, that's something NFL coaches can teach him. What you can't teach is the kind of instinct he has to find those soft spots in the zone coverage. And I don't think this needs to be said, but just in case, it's clear the Broncos need a tight end. The tight end room this year was a mess. It got a little better as the season went on, but still, Adam Troutman led the group with just 188 yards. That was the most by any tight end. They were hoping for more from Albert Okwuegbunam, but that never panned out. I think he's still with the Giants after being released, but yeah, the tight end position was a huge gap for the team. If the Broncos decide to go with Warren at 20, I won't throw a fit because he's a solid player and fits a need. But if it were up to me, I'd take Ashton Jeanty without hesitation. His talent and upside are exactly what this team needs. So here's the big question for you. Do you think the Broncos are making the right call by moving away from the lead back concept? Or are they missing out on the chance to secure a true game changer like Jeanty? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more AFC West news and breakdown. See you next time.